it's very easy if you're not investing time and energy to learn and to fill your soul to become I can't explain the feeling. It's like, oh, you're waiting for something exciting to happen. At a certain point, that crashed. And what that looked like for me was debilitating sciatica. I couldn't sit for days. Everything was wonderful. My life was wonderful. So wonderful that my business was flourishing. I didn't see myself as a neshama, as a worthy part, a part of Hashem.
Welcome to Ordinary People with Extraordinary Stories. I'm Chana Weisberg, host of this podcast. Joining me today, we have Raizy Fried. Thank you so much for joining us, Raizy.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. It's my pleasure.
So, we often have on here people who are searching for more in their lives, more purpose, more inspiration, more meaning. And many of them are people who have left their background, their unobservant background, in order to find that in Judaism. What I found so intriguing about your story is that you were searching for more inspiration, more meaning, more light in your life, yet you came from a very religious background and you still were searching. And I thought it would be interesting for our audience to meet someone like that. Can you, first of all, share with us a little about your background?
So I grew up in Borough Park, typical Hasidic family, went to Hasidic school, and very typical, really very
And
typical.
I just want to share, like, when you say Hasidic, you do not mean like Chabad Hasidic. You just mean like a different kind of
Yeah,
Hasidus.
it's a different set. It's Bells. I come from Bells, and went to regular school. Everything's regular. The only thing that's not regular is my personality. Maybe in the world. No, I think that even in the world, I would be considered more out of the box because I'm very not black and white. And I think not just Jews, but I think humanity in general. It's easier to stay black and white for some people. So when you're like the kind of person that plays devil's advocate with themselves all day, you start becoming a little, so you're always questioning things. And so my life was good. My life was really good. It's just because I grew up religious, I feel like it's really easy, and it happens so often that what we do becomes like out of rote. It's called mitzvah sanu shem leimudav, right?
So
So
things that we do very much out of
yeah, very
habit.
out of habit. It's so instinctive to us because we grew up like this. And then we just do it because we do it, and not necessarily do women that live religious lifestyles know why they're doing things. And sometimes they don't have to know, because there's a beautiful character trait called tamimus, which is innocence. It means I'm doing everything because this is what we do. And it's the people that have this character trait, they don't need more. The thing is, you can't fake tamimus. So I am not that kind of person. I'm more of like a questioner, a seeker, a soul searcher. So I did have problems with something, not problems as in problems, but I didn't feel the need to feel it. Like, because I needed to feel it. If not, I felt like a robot. I felt like I wasn't thriving.
So
So
what kind of questions would you have, or what kind of emptiness did you feel that what was in your life?
I just felt like at a certain point, I'm thinking in school, I did have a lot of questions with my teachers, like different things that we were learning, which I can't even remember offhand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, I had a lot of questions with traditional things that are not necessarily halacha, but let's say different things that Hasidim do wear or don't wear. That's where I struggled a lot. And just in real life, I feel like it's not like actually the religious stuff even, but like, okay, so we get married and we have children. There's like a script that we follow, or we try to follow at least. This is how it should be. And, 6 years after you're married, you end up in the park, you're sitting there with your little one, and you're like pushing the time till it's like 6:30 so you can like put him in the bath. And it's like, it's very easy if you're not investing time and energy to learn and to fill your soul to become I can't explain the feeling. It's like, oh, you're waiting for something exciting to happen. Every day it's just literally pushing till 6:30 so you put the kid in the bath, and then 7 o'clock, and then yay, okay, the kids are the little ones, or when you have little ones. Yeah, it's not shy for me anymore. I have big kids already, but and then like, oh yay, they're in bed. So what do? Okay, so we go onto Instagram or whatever. There was no Instagram when I got married, but like, just scroll, you find some other empty entertainment, or you just call your sister and just gossip on the phone. It's just part of life. This is just what happens. Or you're like looking for drama, so you create drama. That's where
So
I
you li
was. That's where
so
I
you're
was. So
living
saying,
like it's an uninspired life, you're saying. It was a
yeah,
very you're
but
doing
no,
everything.
right, but
Go
nobody
ahead.
talks about how horrible it is to live an uninspired life. There was my teenage years where I struggled with lots of niche things, let's say the school system and all that, but that's like, I'm beyond that. Baruch Hashem, as soon as I got out of school, that part was over. What I found myself in, like having the perfect life, like I married well, love my husband, love my children, moved to Lakewood, bought a little house. I mean, everything was good, but I was just such a miserable. Okay, my daughter, I just made a bas mitzvah not too long ago, and I decided to make a presentation with pictures of her, like from when she was a baby, some kind of like montage. And going down 12 years was a big rabbit hole. Let me just tell you. I
Mm,
started with like uh, the cloud for photos. But then years ago, probably like 10 years ago, I didn't have an iPhone yet. I still had an Android. So that was like on Google Photos. So I had some discs and I had Google Photos. So it was like finding them from everywhere. And when I looked at the pictures of like when she was a year, 2 years old, I had also on there, I think WhatsApp was pretty new, or no, not so new, all the pictures that people were sending me on WhatsApp. So I had pictures of like different people, different couples getting married, different. I can't even explain to you like that low sinking feeling that I felt facing what my life used to be, because it literally transported me to a different era. Here I was seeing all the pictures that I was exchanging of like, oh, this couple got married and that couple, oh, and then here this Hasidic guy doing this, and like all these things that we were sharing. This was my life. I can't explain to you how dark and low I felt just watching, because I remembered that era. But when I was in it, I didn't feel like, oh, I'm living such a nebuchadnezzar lifestyle. No, it was just normal. This is what all our
right.
friends were sharing. Also, like today's day, like you'll share a reel on Instagram about somebody if you want to gossip about them. Then there was no Instagram, so it was literally on WhatsApp, like Facebook screenshots. Facebook was still the hot thing, um, and it's just looking where I'm now. Like I'm like, I don't think I would
So
ever imagine myself being here, and I would never imagine that darkness. I can't even explain to you that low feeling.
interesting. So how did you change? What did you change? What changed about you? How are you living a more inspired, meaningful life now?
So it's not like one book that I read or one therapist that I saw. Basically, what happened was that at a certain point, I was bullied very much. I just came out with a new book and I share the whole story of the book. It's very detailed, but I was bullied and I was shamed more than once. But at a certain point, I crashed, and
You
it
you
just,
were bullied about what? As an adult or
as
as
an
a
adult,
child?
yeah, as an
As an
adult,
adult.
there's a lot of
And
different things that happen, like weird things. Some things, one story I shared in the book. The other one, I didn't really share the exact story because I can't, like, I have to be careful with lashon hara and different things. You know, so
gossip. Mhm,
right, right, right. So I have to, not all stories are just mine to share. There are other
mhm,
people involved. So I was very much bullied, and I was really trying to find my voice through it all. And let's just say it wasn't accepted so well by certain people that,
mm,
and at a certain point that crashed. And what that looked like for me was debilitating sciatica. I couldn't sit for days. Everything was wonderful. My life was wonderful, so wonderful that my business was flourishing. Like I had so many amazing clients. I was doing social media managing back then for big organizations like Bnei Olam and big supermarkets, and really good. But I was a mess. I couldn't sit for days. And we went to doctors and everything. It was basically all emotional. My self
mhm,
esteem was zero, like literally non existent. And Baruch Hashem, Hashem gave me the brains to take this opportunity and really start changing things in my life. Started seeing a coach. I started learning about the beliefs that were inside of me that were really making me see myself in the world. I didn't see myself as a neshama, as a part, a worthy part, a part of Hashem, a tzelem Elokim. I didn't see all of that.
as a real
So
soul, as a part of
right,
God.
right. It was just like all about. I didn't even know if I had a definition because I never even thought of myself. It was like the body. It wasn't like anything more than that. So I really started healing, and slowly, 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 as I started healing, it was never like an intention. Okay, I'm now becoming this. amazing woman that's not speaking not gossiping anymore. I want to say speaking Lashon Hara, that sounds bad. Not gossiping anymore. I'm not interested. No, no, no. Slowly, as I started changing and I started being attracted to more meaningful conversations, I started seeing the depth of life. There's so much richness. You know, when you start learning, when you start opening your head, you start listening to other people, you see what they have to offer, you find the right literature or the right podcast or the right medium for you to learn so much amazing things that the Torah has to offer. You start feeling your mind expand and you want more of it. So that's what happened. And then slowly, like I became more disinterested in like the other stuff. So one day I
Hmm.
found myself in a circle where people were just like dissecting other people. And I was like, no, I don't like this. Like it was just slowly happen. And you know what? It didn't even feel amazing. It didn't feel like, oh, you see, like now, no, I actually felt such sadness because I had lost the camaraderie. Like I felt like I'm not on the same page as my friends anymore. I felt
Mm.
bored. I felt like everyone is so shallow suddenly. It didn't feel good. You want to be surrounded by, so it took time. It took time for me to find the right people. Today, Baruch Hashem, I have amazing friends, and I have a whole chapter in my book talking about friendships and how to get those right people, because that's really, there's working on your self-esteem, and there's also surrounding yourself with the people that bring you up. And there are certain people that bring you down. But people, society calls them toxic people. I hate that word. There's no such a thing as toxic people. They may
Mm.
be on a different page as you. They may be at a different part of their journey. They're not up to. So I call it in the chapters called friendships and friend shifts. Like certain people can
Mhm.
only bring you so far. Then you outgrow them. They're not toxic people. There's no such thing as a toxic Jew. What are they toxic?
Right.
They're also
Right.
at Salem, like, if I hate that word, it's thrown around like, I know a lot of people call a lot of people cause a lot of people a lot of trouble, definitely. But I
Right.
still don't like the word toxic people. So yeah, um,
So was there like an aha moment that you realized that you're more this part of you that's a neshama, this part of you that's a soul, that you started defining yourself as a deeper person?
very, very, no defining, no huge aha
No
moment. Very
different.
slowly, when you learn, and by the way, when you listen, I listen to a lot of Chabad Hasidus. It gets into you. I'm telling you, just listen. You have to find the right person, because for so long I wanted to learn Tanya, and a lot of people were giving it over in a way where I just wasn't connecting to it. Like it was very like abstract. I couldn't. And then some people try not to make it abstract, so they start like trying to make it interesting. So they'll do it with poetry and different things. And then I also wasn't connecting to that. I tried. So you have to find the right people, the right medium to listen to. But then when you do find that right, it's just, by the way, even just having Chabad friends for me was so huge in learning Tanya, because they just quoted it left and right. Like I said
Mm.
something like, Tanya discusses this, by the way. So it doesn't have to be
So
learning.
Tanya is a foundational text of Hasidic philosophy. It's written by the first Chabad Rebbe, and it really discusses a lot our purpose and our soul. What can you tell us a teaching that you learned in the Tanya that changed you?
I think one of the huge teachings that I connected a lot to. I don't remember exactly which capital it is in, and
That's
I don't remember
fine.
exact source, but it's the idea that the Yitzhahara, which is the Satan, always tells us like, okay, so let's say we're being good, we're doing something virtuous, we're doing an act of kindness. So it tells you, oh, you're only doing it because other people are seeing, or you're only doing it because, really you're not such a nice person. But like now, you're writing, so you're pretending to be. And he says that that's the Satan, because that's exactly who you are. What you're not is the other times when you're not. Meaning, this is the purity is your essence. And I always quote the story from Lubavitch Rebbe, which really illustrates this point, that on Yom Kippur, somebody came and told him that there's so many Jews that never keep Shabbos, never keep anything, but like they come to shul, they come to synagogue on Yom Kippur, and they're like playing a dress up. So
Hmm.
the Rebbe said they're playing dress up all year. Yom Kippur is when their essence truly shines.
That's their
So
genuine self. That's who they
that
really
to
are.
me, because we're so critical of ourselves that even when we do something good, we'll find something to tell ourselves like, okay, like everyone's watching, you're only doing. There's also this whole concept of virtue signaling, which is exactly that, right?
Right.
So people will
Street.
say, oh, virtue signaling, like if you're going to give charity to the pauper on the street and you can do an Instagram story of it, like it's like not worth anything. And there's a point to it, I get it, but What Tanya says, no, that's actually who you really are.
Right.
That's who you really are. The other thing is not really you. Like the one that's like when you're not acting your best. And that to me was such a huge, I don't know, that was something that I never heard before. It was a whole different way of seeing it. There's so many of it, such kind of things, but that's
Right.
something that stuck
No, that's
with me.
beautiful. So it's really looking at yourself as the soul, really looking at yourself as this genuine person, and all those other stuff that you're doing, just not the real you. All those toxic things that we're doing, or all those things that are not, meaningful or inspirational, those aren't the real us. It's those real stuff, the genuine stuff, when we are doing the good, that is the real us. Is
Right.
that what you're
Right.
saying? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh-huh. So it's very interesting because I was hearing you talk about how you looked at Chabad Hasidus and how you looked at the Rebbe, and it was very interesting to hear someone from the outside say these things. Can you share with us? You've had an experience recently where you went to a convention with Chabad
Mm.
mechanchos, Chabad teachers. What was that experience like for you?
Like crazy, like in a good way. You're surrounded by women, and that's what the program was amazing, the food was amazing, everything was amazing. But like for me, it was the women. You're surrounded by women that are all connected, meaning, what do I mean by connected? They wake up every morning and they know they have a mission in this world. They're connected to what they're meant to be doing down here in this world. Like I didn't grow up. I don't know. Maybe people were connected. They didn't talk about it. They are like, and when you talk to them, it comes into like it's like a very nonchalant way of speaking, which is just like we're organically and just naturally connected. To me, people that spoke that way were maybe like the Rebbitzin, like the not not like Amchu, not like the people that are just surrounded with. Um, I can't think of exact examples now, but it was very special to be surrounded by women that were normal, whatever that means, like
Right.
mothers, working women, teachers, um, in administration, even, like doing things, working in schools, because the convention was for anyone in chinuch, anyone in Jewish education, and so there were principals, administrative, all different types of positions, and they were all so connected, which it
And,
wasn't
and what
phony.
what do you think makes them that way? What do you think
It
makes
keeps. I
them
think. I think the Chabad girls, they learn Hasidus in school. I didn't learn Hasidus. I learned there was a subject called Hasidus, and basically we learned like, okay, Baal Shem Tov, his Talmidim, different stories, and the Mezritch Magid, like meaning the stories, but not the actual what. What did the
the
Baal Shem Tov
teachings?
stand for? No, yeah,
Right.
like the philosophies. Let's just call it, right. But you do learn that,
Mhm.
and then even after you're married, you do the hitas or whatever it is. How do you call it? The
Daily
daily
learning,
the
right.
daily
Daily
learning.
study, right.
And I think that not even maybe not everyone learns it every day, but it's at least a goal. It's at least
Mm,
something they
mhm.
want to do. I don't know. I'm not sure. I know how it looks in school. After you're married, I know a lot of women that do the chitas every day. There are women that don't, but I'm not sure exactly what's woven into the fabric of your lifestyle that we don't have. I didn't pinpoint it, but I think it's just no. I actually do know. It's the upbringing.
Mhm.
I think it's just so foundational for you.
Mhm. And you spoke also about the way that we look at the Rebbe as being very different than how others look at their
Yeah.
leaders. Can you elaborate on that?
First of all, you know what the Rebbe represented. Not every Hasidus knows that. Like, okay, there's a hierarchy, and he's a very holy man, or was a very holy man. I can talk about it different. We know a lot of how's it called, yichus, right? Like the lineage is very
Lineage.
royal, and they are very holy, a holy family, etc. And that's why we look up to the Rebbe, and he is sort of a pipeline to God. So, when we give a kvittel, we go into the Rebbe with like a different, something that we want, or we want him to pray for us. It's sort of our connection to Hashem. That's that's
Mhm.
that's how I was raised. And you have that, had that too. I mean, some people could still go to the oil and whatever, but let's talk about when he was alive. You had that too, but there was much more than that, because you knew what the Rebbe represented, and the way it's all documented is just marvelous. Like, it's just, the foresight is insane. And I feel like each and every one of the Chabad women and men want to emulate what the Rebbe stood for and want as much as possible to do what he did in their own way. Like they're not being a Rebbe of a whole community, and he was a international leader of sorts, but
Right.
they are trying to do the most they can to live their tafkid, live their shlichus, as you call it, which means they're very, very aware. I was brought down on this world for a reason. Now, I think we also know it growing up, but for some reason, I thought my reason was to be a mother, have children, which it's true, but have to be in my book. This is something that I was battling with a very long time because I have a very diverse audience. So there's a lot of Hasidic women that might be thinking that, and I'm always playing devil's advocate for myself. So I'm like, how am I creating like a whole chapter on living a fulfilling lifestyle, on doing your shlichus when I can hear the women thinking, oh, my shlichus is to be a mother. No, I have children, it's a full-time job. I even heard, I don't even know where I heard it, but I heard sort of this message of like, if you go out of your home, then you're sort of like, your children are losing out. Like your tough kid here on this world is to be a mother. So just stay home and take care of your kids. And I was struggling with that when writing the book because I was like, I can't
Well,
write this
I mean,
book.
it's interesting because the Rebbe very much stressed that the woman is the Akaras Habayis. She's the mainstay of the home, that she is that's, a fundamental part of that is who she is. That is her mission in life, to create the environment. But I guess you're saying the Rebbe thought we could do a lot. He
Sure,
put
the
he put
Rebbe pushed.
a lot of responsibilities on her shoulders.
Yeah,
So we could still be that mainstay of the home, the person who sets the tone in the home while still bringing in others by teaching others and influencing others as
right.
well.
So I know the Rebbe used to push women to go do shlichus and who knows what, be leaders of communities and institutions. I mean, on a very high level. So I was thinking, so oh, 1 minute. So the woman that is just a mother, just a home, is she being complacent, or is she actually
Mhm.
doing what she's supposed to be doing by fully focusing, just having full focus on her children and her husband? So I was struggling with this. So at one point, I wrote a letter with this whole question, and I sent it to a lot of rabbis. One of the rabbis I actually sent it to was Rabbi Manis Friedman. And in the book, I include the letter that I sent and the response, which the response wasn't a letter, it was actually a session, but I wrote down what he said. And basically, what he said that going and doing other things is not running away from your house. Of course, if you're running away from your home, that's not kosher. It's if you're successful within your home, you need to expand your borders. And we went into the whole subject of chesed is not just for your children. Like you're given talents, not just for your children. Because that's what I wrote in the letter. I asked, okay, so this woman has a talent, she knows how to cook. So she could say, okay, I'm using it. I'm doing my top kid, my mission on this world. I'm cooking for my family and my husband, nourishing meals, right? So they can grow up and be great yidden, etc. But because they could serve Hashem rather, right? But
Mhm.
you're not given talents for just your family. And we even brought the example of the chasida, which is a bird. So the chasida is not kosher. And
Mhm.
happens to be chasida, the word chasida comes from chesed. She
Mhm.
actually does a lot of chesed. So how come it's not kosher? So I'm not sure who says, but it's brought down that basically she only gives and she's only generous and she only does chesed with her kind, with her family. And that's what's not kosher. And you just do for yours. So in Rabbi Manis Friedman, the whole thing's in the book, but he went into explaining that you need to reach out. It's not just about being, we were talking about
It's
Dalit
not about
Amos,
just
just
taking care of yourself and your own
right.
family, but you have the capabilities of influencing so many more people around you, and then how can you not, right?
Yeah, it's not just you have the capabilities, you need to. Like you were
Mhm.
brought down to the world to make the world a better place, and that's not just your children.
Right. So once you had this kind of mind shift in your perspective, and you started realizing more about your being a soul, your being a neshama, you're having a mission in this world, how does that change your day-to-day life?
First of all, you wake up in a good mood.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, because I
What's
used
what's better than that, right?
one of the relatable things that I always say, because I find this so relatable, is like how I used to be versus how I'm now. I used to wake up in a horrible mood every day. I was in such a horrible mood every day. I didn't even know why. That was the saddest part. So it was easy for me. I was happy when my husband said something that I didn't like, because then I would just like vent all my energy there and blame him. Or if the bus driver didn't come, didn't make the stop at the right place, so I could vent. Or my mother-in-law, whatever. that was easier for me. But when nothing happened and I was just in a horrible mood and the sun was actually shining, so I can't even blame it on the weather.
Mm.
It was just, it came from a very horrible, unfulfilled, low self-esteem, the combination of being unfulfilled. And by the way, I was doing very similar work to what I'm doing now,
Hmm.
which is crazy. It's mind-boggling because that means that you could be doing something but not feeling it. So I was
Hmm.
doing more cooking, right? And now I do less of cooking, like sharing recipes and stuff like that. But it's not about doing more or doing less, because even after I healed and I would share recipes, it was just so meaningful because it was coming from a very pure and good place. It wasn't coming from a garbage place where you're nothing and you're just like on a rat race. You don't even know where you're going. What are you doing? Looking for that
Right.
high, looking for that vacation, waiting for that. So the first thing
That
that it changes when you realize,
that's really beautiful. Like when you realize that it's just a mind shift, like it's just a mindset shift. You can be doing the same thing, but it's how you perceive it and how it's how you
yeah.
look at it. And that you know, you could be taking care of your child and looking at it as such a chore, or you're looking at it as this is God's child who I'm caring for. And the same is with everything that you're doing. You could look at your work as something that's just a means for a livelihood, or you could look at it as this is something that I can use my talents and fulfill my mission in this world and connect to God in this way.
And can we talk about energy, like kayaf, right? When you realize how precious you are, when you realize all the precious things Hashem has granted you, and then you realize that Hashem granted you something even more special. That every day you get like refueled with all this kaitas, like energy, just not kaitas as in talent, energy, literally energy.
Energy.
It's like you learn to value it a little bit more and appreciate it more and not waste it on like drama. And I remember like my car got stuck or something in the middle of a highway. And I remember then I was talking to a coach and I was hysterical because that was another thing. I used to overreact like crazy. Something didn't go my way. It was like, because I was basically this balloon that was waiting to burst. Like there was so much horrible things inside. So something happened and it was a perfect opportunity for me to let out all my anger and frustration that had nothing to even to do with that. So anyways, and I remember I was telling her how crazy it is. And I'm standing on the road and my car's not moving and it's hot. And I'm like, oh, and she's like, wow. I'm like, and she's like, you don't think that's a little overreacting or something like that? I don't remember. It was years ago. So I don't remember. I'm saying a story of 8 years ago. So, and I was like, why? I didn't even see that I was overreacting. Like, why? Because it took
Mhm.
me like probably like a day to calm down from this standing in the middle of the road and my car got stuck. And I was mad at everyone, of course, but I didn't understand. What do you mean overreacting? My car got stuck. Didn't you hear what I just told you? My car got stuck.
Right.
I have to go here. I have to go there. I'm oh my! I have to wait till somebody comes to takes me whatever, takes my car, blah blah blah. And I remember she told me like, just sit with it. One day it's gonna come with you. Like just remember, like
Mhm.
one day. And today's day, I really do get it. It's just like learning. First of all, when you learn that you're not in control, like you're taken
Mhm.
care of. You're so pure. You're so good. You're taken care of. He has a plan for you. It's not like I feel like if the old self would hear me say this, it would be like, okay, you became like a whole rabbit's in here, like, oh, moon have a tough. No, no, it's not like that at all. I'm not even on a high level when it comes to emunah b'tachon at all. Like just believing,
Faith and belief, right,
right?
in God, right.
Believing that like the God is every. I mean, I do believe, but I know people that are just on such a higher level, so that's why I don't think that I'm there yet.
But it's so you're saying it's really internalizing that
Yeah,
that
it's like
that God is in control of this world.
right, and you also realize because you realize that you are right, you're precious, your value, you are good,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
automatically everything you bring to the table, your energy, you want to sort of like ration it, use it only when it's everything becomes more precious, like when you're
Mhm.
a princess and you have beautiful jewelry and you have expensive assets, you're going to be so much more careful. Like a princess is so much more careful with her jewels and her precious stuff than just like some random street guy that happened to have found some things and it's like, what? He doesn't even know he doesn't even know the kashivas. He doesn't even know the value of what he has. So it's like, okay, so you waste all your energy on like discussing your neighbor's divorce and going crazy over it on the phone for 3 hours. Time, energy, just a bunch of potential right there. So I think it all comes together. You ask me how it changes when you start realizing your value. It changes everything in a very subtle way. And when you're not there, you don't see it. But because I know how horrible and dark it felt right now, I think more in hindsight than in real life, because in real life I was blaming everyone else. So there was always
Mm.
somebody to blame. I wasn't blaming myself. Um, because I know how that is, that kind of lifestyle it is. And yeah, I was religious. He said, I grew up religious. I still want, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? You know, like if you're religious and you're just keeping all the mitzvahs because this is what you do, but you never invest in your soul. So yes, we'd say when we do a mitzvah and we say a bracha, of course it affects our soul, right? But
Right.
we need more than that. We need more than just doing things that I wrote. That's very precious, and we should continue doing mitzvahs. But a woman, especially a woman, I feel like needs, because there's so much emphasis on learning for men, um, needs to be connected. She needs to understand why she's bringing children into this world. So often, like you'll ask them, they don't even know why. Like, okay, I want to have 8 kids. I want to have 6 kids. They have like all these pictures in their head of the beautiful weddings and like everything's visual, but do they really understand? Like, and then it gets frustrating because, for example, with children, this is a good example. The child doesn't act the way they want to act, and they're a failure in their head. They're a failure, like because they think they have children to get nachas from the children. Like they think they raise these children so that they see nachas, so they can, like, how do you say nachas in English?
Joy,
Joy.
Jewish
So they could
joy.
just have joy, and now it's not filling this need of joy. So it's like, okay, I'm a failure. So like the whole, maybe they'll even think the whole, all these years were not even worth it. This is what
Hmm.
happened, and then of course you're miserable. So this is just like
Hmm.
one little in parenting. It plays out so strong that when you're connected, you understand. I need to do my hishtadlus. I need to do my best in order to make sure that I'm raising this child as need to be. But there's a certain level of control, and every child has their journey. And you have to know when to give up control. Either it's not, a child is not necessarily an indication of me. And it's with career. If you have a career, if you're a businesswoman and your whole identity is tied into your success, torture, pain, just pain, 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 competition. I'm saying in every area of life, if you're not connected, if you're not learning on a consistent basis, and there's so much to learn. We mentioned Tanya, but there's also Chavis Halvavis. There's amazing other things that I love to learn that really help you in life. Like when you learn Chavis Halvavis, which is, how do we do translate Chavis
Duties of
Halvavis?
the heart.
Duties of the heart. You see, I knew that I know it right. Duties of the heart is amazing for business, anything really. But for me, it helps me in my work a lot. Um, just knowing that whatever is meant to be, it will come your way.
Hmm.
And it doesn't even mean that if you work harder or you overexert yourself, especially as a mom, this message is so important. You work crazy hours, doesn't mean you're going to be more successful, you're going to make more. Messages like that, and you do need it on a consistent basis, because knowing it behind, in your head because you heard it once in seventh grade isn't enough. No.
Right, right. Wow. When you made this shift, this perspective shift, where you invited God more into your life and you invited faith and positivity of being a Jew more into your life, how did that affect? Was there any reaction from your husband or your children? Did it affect the way that you interacted?
My husband was very happy, I think, because
Did
if
he
not, he was
notice?
being
What did he?
blamed. If not, he was being blamed. Never.
Uh-huh.
I
So he
really don't. I,
definitely noticed. He
I
noticed the
really,
shift.
yeah, I really don't know how he stuck around. I seriously, like, no, I wasn't the worst wife, but I think of myself then, like, if I would treat myself that way, like if somebody else,
Mhm.
not if I did treat myself that way, if somebody else would treat me that way. So he just got a better wife. He got a wife that actually, I was in a bad mood. I didn't drive him nuts because I learned also how to sit down. What do I need now? And how to take care of myself.
Mhm.
Sometimes that means just going, you're in a bad mood. Sometimes it happens, right? You're going out for a drive, putting on some music, sitting with yourself. I know how to do these things now. It used to be I didn't know how to do these things. I'd call him up and drive him nuts. Never.
Mhm.
So my
Right.
husband loved it. Friends, a lot of friends did drop me, and it was very painful. It
Wow.
was painful. It still hurts me a little bit.
Well, I'm sure
Um,
you got deeper friendships
yeah,
though.
yeah, I'm happy, but it's just I could feel that pain still. It's very painful
Right.
because I understand it, like psychologically understand, like they felt like I wasn't speaking their language anymore, or they were intimidated, or I was too big
Mhm.
for them. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is. But it's still like I invested a lot of years and time and energy in these friends, and I still care about them.
Mhm.
But they couldn't handle it. So
Right. And
yeah,
your children?
my children were very young, so
Uh-huh. Got
yeah,
it.
I'm lucky. I'm
Okay.
very lucky because if
How
it happened when I was 40 years old, it would be a whole
Ho
different.
how do you raise your children in a way that they should feel God more in their life?
Still working on that. I'm really
Okay.
working on that. I do talk about it from time to time. Um, it's definitely something on my mind.
Hmm.
Talk about the neshama. I share different things that I
The
hear.
soul. Hmm.
Yeah, I share different things that I hear. I could probably do better.
Hmm.
Still figuring that out.
Okay. And the last question, what are your dreams, or what would you like to see for yourself for the future?
I wish that one. I know it sounds very funny saying this, but I'm hoping that one day I look back at this time in this interview and I'm like, oh, I was so messed up then. Like, meaning
There's n
I'll be at such a
There'll
better
be well,
place that I'll look
right.
down and it's like, oh, I was so not because I want to be messed up right now, but
Of course.
I want to be like where there's even more because when you grow, you like,
There's no end, right? There's
yeah,
no end to growth,
it's just like a
absolutely.
picture. You think you look beautiful, and then 10 years later, you're like, oh, I'm so fat. I was so whatever, right? When you look back, but then you thought you were beautiful. So I wish the
Right.
same thing is true with me, with like my knowledge or the way I can see things, be a little bit more open minded, less judgmental. I can use some of that. I really try to be less judgmental, and I try like even when I see people that are like not a good place. I'm like, I also used to be there once, so whatever, or like they're in a different place of their journey. But I'm still a little too judgmental sometimes. So I think, yeah, I want to be less judgmental, more open minded. Just I don't know where, but like I'm sure there's places I can go, which is just going to
Good.
make life even more meaningful and better because it's all in your head. It's all in your head. When you're open minded and less judgmental, nothing changes. Like people have miserable lives. They're surrounded by toxic people. So it's all about the toxic people and everything. And they're waiting for these people to. I remember my friend, I have an amazing friend. Her name is Chani Rosengarten, and she's actually a marriage coach. And her story, I always repeat it because it's so true. She was struggling with a lot of things in her life, with her marriage, with her friendships, with her parenting. One day she realized this was her breakthrough that she's having problems with everyone. Like all the different struggles was her. Basically, she realized
Mhm.
one day that she was the problem and not, and all she did, she didn't change anyone, was work on herself, on empowering herself. And now she gives courses on empowering women. And that is so true because that's really like people struggle so much and they wait for like this relief of like maybe this person is going to go away, this person is going to get help. Oh, I have this quote. I think wrote it in the book. It's basically if you keep on going on and on about other people that are not changing, you're not changing.
Hmm.
Something like that,
Right.
like if you
Right.
keep on saying like, oh, she's bothering me or whatever, manipulative, whatever, not changing, you're also dwelling on that and only focused on that, then you're also not changing. So
Right.
that's what I mean. Like it's all in your head. If it's realizing how pure and your potential that you have and the gift that every minute on this world is, or if it's just the way, I mean, the brain, your beliefs is everything. And it's when you start hopping that, it's a life, a game changer, life changer, game changer. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Thank you, Raizy. Thank you so much for joining us. We wish
Thank
you
you.
continued success in everything that you're doing, and absolutely that continued growth. We'll meet you in 10 years from now back on
Yeah.
here.
Okay. We'll cringe. We'll cringe. We're like, okay. Thank
Right.
you so much. Have a
Okay.
great day.
What I found so interesting about this Raizy Fried interview was how we can so often go through life in a way that we just don't even realize how we are going through life. We just kind of sail through life without really appreciating who we are, what we are, the meaning that we're giving to our lives, our mission in this world. I found it interesting that Raisie was so honest in just really being willing to look her life in the face and say, this is not the person who I want to be. And as she said, she was a religious woman who was doing all the things that she was supposed to be doing, quote unquote, but the spirit was missing. The body was there, but the spirit was missing. She was doing mitzvot, but they were without the flavor, without the feeling, without the understanding. And I found it very interesting how she explained how Hasidus really, learning Chabad Hasidus really improved that because it helped her to really realize a lot more about what life is about, our mission in this world, our connection to God. And when we can do that mindset shift, and I loved how she said it was really just a shift. She's still doing the same things that she was doing. She's still successful in her career. She's still successful as a wife and a mother, and with all the things that she was doing before. But that change in perspective makes a complete change in everything that we do. in the small things as well as the big things, because it gives us a perspective to look at. It gives us a vision of ourselves, and it shows us why we're doing what we're doing. And I guess the takeaway message for all of us is we can sometimes be doing something, and if we don't have that proper vision of what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, how we see ourselves, in this world, and how we see ourselves as connected to God, then the entire way of doing things can really not be as positive as it should be. If you enjoy watching these interviews, I hope you are signed up at Chabad.org/extraordinary. You can find us as well on Spotify or Apple to listen while you're on the go. We love your feedback. We love your stars. We love your hearts. We love your rating us. We love to hear from you what exactly you liked about the interviews that we are doing and what touched you personally in your own lives. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being part of this extraordinary community.